Demolor 2099 Volume 1 Cyberpunk City Shinjuku Review. The main feature of this award-winning light novel is a mixture of genre it provides, sci-fi, in particular cyberpunk, and this volume subtitle references classic fantasy stories and the dominant manga genre at the moment, isekai, albeit not the conventional version. The story begins with the evil Velvet Velsfalt, Demolor for the word of Anyet, finally being defeated in battle by the great hero Gram. As he is immortal, he does not completely die, and for 100 years later one of his servants, fire magic use Machina Solage of the Six Dark Peers, is able to use magic to reincarnate Veltol. However, Veltol learns that nearly 80 years ago, during the time he was been away, Alan encountered a catastrophe called the Fantasion, in which a magical word merged with another world which was dominated by industrial civilization Earth. When the two worlds merged in what was the Earth year 2023, conflict with production spread across the many races, national boundaries collapsed, and the creation of massive city-states led to two city wars. The world is now at a relative peace, thanks to people's combining Earth's industry with Alnit's magic and crave Imagineering, with all kinds of futuristic technology now being powered by magic. Velto learns that they are in what used to be Tokyo, but has now become the city-state Shinjuku. The inner part of the city, centered around the magical power plant furnace, is for the wealthy elite, while the other, colder part of the city is for the poor and the slum dwellers. Beyond this area, it is the call to leave. Veltos immediately decides to start again in his aim to rule the world, even if it is a new one, and tries to assemble the other Dark Peers. However, almost all of them are missing, presumed dead, except for Machina and one other, the vampire blood magic user Marcus, who now runs the company Ishimaru Heavy Magical Industries. Velto goes to meet Marcus, but learns that Marcus has actually always hated Velto. He has designed his magic implant technology, as Velto cannot use it. What is more, Velto gains his strong faith from his followers, and as almost everyone has forgotten who he was as the years have passed, he is powerless when faced with Marcus's magic. After a brief fight, Velto ends up leaving Machina as he tries once again to rebuild his powers. He does this with help from one of the Machina's friends, a magical computer hacker named Takahashi, who hates Imi. Together, they build up Velto's online profile by making him a video game streamer. As the novel progresses, Velto encounters more people from his old world and discovers that Imi has been part of the conspiracy that threatens the lives of his allies. Demon Lord's 2099 strength is a setting of world building. The merging of the two worlds to create a world which is both futuristic and magical at the same time makes for an engrossing read. Author Daigo Murasaki is at his best when describing the landscape. The passage where Velto sees Shinjuku for the first time is wonderfully written, talking about the endless lights in the world more luminous than anything back in his time. Murasaki writes, page 16, thick black clouds obscured the darkness of night as polluted snow fell on the city, illuminated by the vivid hues of the light, yet sparse enough not to sound alarms for the nearby speakers. Credit must also go to translator Sergio Avila for helping bring the text to life. No credit is given to a letterer, but the font does shift in the book. When people communicate via text, shifting to a more futuristic style. The cyberpunk elements are all clearly visible, and anyone who has ever read such stories, city films or played games will recognize many of the tropes. Implants, artificial limbs, cyborgs, robots, shady mega corporations, and so on. Actually, sometimes it is a bit of a flaw. It's a big scandal at the heart of the story. It's somewhat easy to figure out, but at the time it is also entertaining. One nice moment is when Takahashi uses a visual hacking programming called Laughing Man, which I suspect is a reference to the Laughing Man from Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. The series is rather like the video game Cyberpunk 2077, but with far fewer technical problems. Not that this novel is free of errors either, as I did spot at least one typo on page 80, where they spelled Takahashi's name is Takashi. However, as well as the cyberpunk elements of the story, we also have the fantasy elements drawn in as well. This is the world dominated by Imagineering, so while I may mentioning cyborgs, in this world they are called Magiborgs. There are a few things worth highlighting about the use of fantasy elements in this cyberpunk tale. First, it does make things much more convenient for the writer, as rather than go into the huge detail about how all the technology is powered, he can just say it is all magic, and second, combining the magic with the tech makes from some great fight scenes. And third, the magic also allows Velto to encounter people from his world that he thought should be long gone, but are still alive, and allow the writer to have some fun with fantasy tropes as well as those of cyberpunk. On top of all this is the isekai element. Rather than reverse isekai, this is a character from a different world landing on Earth. As with any of these stories, the fish out of water element adds to the more comedic elements of the book, and reverse isekai are especially good at this. While normal isekai sees a human trying to get their grips with things they are often weird than most of us, reverse isekai are able to get more laughs for these otherworldly visitors not understanding basic human activity. Velto certainly brings in this comedy as someone who cannot use the implants, meaning meaning they cannot use the Lenny's tech, leading to comic confusion. Much of the comedy comes from him not understanding the technology of this world, something that anyone who tries tried to teach an older relative how to use. Not any new tech today can recognize. Combine this Velto's continued desire to rule the world, you can also get the humor for the lead's over-ambitious desire. As well as the writing, there are also illustrations for the artist Coretta. The black and white artwork is rather rough, but the color page at the start is more engrossing. Overall, the art reinforced my feelings. I would really like to see the series being turned into an anime. I want to see these futuristic, fantastical landscapes on screen. I admit this is not a perfect work, but I think it would certainly have an appeal. As the novel won the Fantasia Grand Prize in 2020, I know the others would like to see it adapted too. 9 over 10.